So, how do you go about creating a good business valuation, and can you move that around and be creative with it? Um, as a trial attorney, that business evaluation is going to be what I want it to be, and I'm semi constrained by it, but sometimes I regard it very strongly. And I'm gonna pound it, pound it, pound it. And then other times I'm gonna be like, nah, I don't believe it. And it could be this and could be this. And I'm gonna take a completely different negotiating stance with it. Or I'm gonna argue in court whatever it is that the circumstance dictates for. On a business valuation, you usually have two business valuations. You have yours, which generally you're going to like, and then you're going to have the other sides, which generally you're not going to like, or they're going to like. I have had two business valuators that came to the same agreement, and we basically said, all right, we're going to dismiss one of them, and the other one's going to testify, because that's, like, for example, there were business valuators. Both sides have used this business valuator in trial before, and we respect their opinions. Both sides used the other business evaluator. This one was on our side this time. This one was on their side this time. But we respected both of them, and we let their business evaluator testify, or they let ours. We've had it both, and a lot of times it's because we can cross-examine them, and we know they're going to tell the truth. They're not bought off by either side. They're generally doing a good job. You do have some that are like going to tell your side whatever they want, and they're going to manipulate the numbers and things like that. So what I'm typically looking for, I'm not looking for an advantage. I'm looking for accuracy, because if your business evaluator tells you what you want to hear, they'll get destroyed on the stand. It doesn't help you the way you think. You can't really have that be bought and manipulated. It just goes badly. What I want is, I need you to really be accurate, and then leave it to me to argue why it shouldn't be that. Because you may say, here's what liquidation value is. And I go, yeah, that's liquidation value on 3 months. At a year worth of liquidation, and by the way, my client's willing to hold this for the year, the valuation will be 3 times as much, because we can get a lot more money. So if you're going to value it at that, then we'll take it, because your valuation is too low. Or if you're going to value it at that, then you take it, because your valuation is too high. And so if you're going to take $3 million for that valuation, I'm going to take the $3 million house, because I think that's only worth $1 million. And I think the house is worth $3 million. So I'm getting, in my world, I'm getting our client $3 million, and their client's taking $1 million, but because they're saying the business that they think we're going to take is worth $3 million. I'm like, no, it's worth $1 million. I don't want that business. I want the house for $3 million. And then they go, well, no, we won't want to do that. Yeah, because you're overvaluing your business. It's one of the ways that we can destroy them in court. But also, most of these arguments I can make in mediation, or I can make directly from attorney to attorney, and then they value that, and we come to an agreement one way or the other. Accurate valuation, reputable, good, experienced business valuator, because you want them to have experience testifying. And they get that experience by taking, simpler cases, or the cases that in early in their career, and then they build up to bigger and bigger, higher valuations, because they have the integrity to be able to stand up to cross-examination and defend their work, as opposed to, if they're not good on the stand, I don't care how good their business evaluation is, it's not going to be helpful, and it's going to be destroyed, and you may as well just, throw it in the trash can. So you have to have somebody that's good in court, that knows the law and will accurately value the business. You have to be able to get them all the financials and things that they need in order to evaluate the business. And then you have to be able, as an attorney, to argue that well. And that's probably the most important aspect of them all. So how do you protect your business during the divorce? This is tricky. First off, you pray that your spouse is not stupid enough to go out and try and destroy your business while the divorce is pending. That helps no one. It only destroys both of you, and destroys one of the major assets of the business. If you got a $10 million business that you destroy, now you're dividing, whatever's left, as opposed to, having that asset. And if you're going to divide it 50-50, that's $5 million each. So don't destroy the business. Both sides should want to protect the business. And thankfully, most of the time, both sides do protect the business. What we do find, though, is that sometimes people leverage kids stuff, leverage business stuff, leverage money, and the kids are used as pawns, or the business is used as a pawn. Going public is used as a threat or pawn, which we don't recommend ever. Don't even threaten it. It's never good, never useful. But you want to make sure that the business is going to operate smoothly. Sometimes you can have it to where if one of the spouses is disruptive to the business, to where they're restrained, you get a restraining order that says they can't come they can't go to the business, they can't do any kind of contact about the business. All that they can do with the business is through their attorney, it requests records that are provided from the other side. You can do a lot to isolate it. You can get an order that says one of the two is going to operate the business or not. A lot of different things that you can do in order to actually protect that business. And there are some things that you should and some things that you shouldn't do. So lean on your legal team. Defer to what your attorney tells you. Tell them about any problems and concerns that you have, and then follow their advice. They'll help you get from where you are now to where it is that you want to be. How do you manage shared business ownership? Is that something that we see? Yes, we see it all the time. And there's kind of a spectrum. This is, if you want to use a PC term, of husband and wife, mom and pop type of store versus fully structured corporate, runs like a McDonald's entity that both of them happen to work at. And sometimes they're perfectly fine. You wouldn't even know that they're going through a divorce. They operate the business totally as normal. Other times it's World War III and a total nightmare, and they start, they're like an elephant in a china shop. They're gonna just be smashing everything left and right. Employees are running for the hills. Things are out of control. Customers are getting neglected. The business is starting to crumble. It can be any number of those things. So depending on the circumstance would depend on the remedy that we implement. Sometimes we can get restraining orders put in place that restrain people. A restraining order is an order that prevents someone from doing something that they're otherwise legally entitled to do. Other times we can get what's called a temporary order, which orders someone to affirmatively have to do certain aspects like run that business properly. Other times we can have someone else called a receiver appointed to run that business for them, and that neither one of them can run the business, or that they run that business under the supervision of a receiver or supervision of an attorney who represents neither party, but attorney that represents that business. A lot of different solutions based on the particular circumstance. What you really want to make sure is that the business still functions, because for society's purpose, we don't want businesses going out. The business probably has other employees that we don't want their livelihoods being jeopardized. And most of the time they're not. Most of the time they're run just fine. Sometimes sales can take a dip, especially if one of the people is the primary salesperson or the CEO, the one who runs the business. Sometimes the business can be, the divorce is very distracting and can have some kind of negativity on their aura about them, can really kind of deter the business. But you want to make sure that business runs and operates successfully, regardless of the fact that they're going through a divorce. And then we figure out who's going to own the business, is whether it's one of the two parties, or maybe they sell it to someone else, or however that's going to work out. All of that is part of the divorce process. So how do buy-sell agreements work in a divorce? If you decide, hey, we're getting a divorce, so now what happens? So typically buy-sell agreements, upon a divorce, it triggers the necessity for a business valuation or a specific amount that either the parent company, like for example, if it's a franchise and the parent company may have the first right of refusal to buy that business for a set dollar amount that is determined by the company. Or that in a buy sell that they may have to hire a independent third-party business evaluator that basically determines the value of the company, and the buy sell agreement automatically triggers that the remaining partner or owner of the business has to buy out one of the two spouses or both of the two spouses. And that price is either set ahead of time in the buy-sell agreement, sometimes based on their capital accounts, their equity accounts, or usually based on some kind of fair market or market value analysis from business valuation. And it's predetermined to a certain extent. gets very complicated, as you can imagine. Every business is different. Sometimes, well, what happens if the business doesn't have the cash flow or the money to be able to do that? How do you finance that? And what if you can't finance it? All these different considerations are things that we take care of during the process to get you from where you are now to where it is that you want to be.